welcome back to Reachin Reverie. Today it's a little bit chilly and it's a bit windy, but we are moving forward with garden planning and prep. So today we are marking off and squaring off the space that will become my future garden. Right now we are working on determining the garden boundary. We do see there are a couple trees that are in the way that are going to have to come out, little mesquite shrubs. You can see Josh is about to pluck one right now, and we will eventually be clearing all of the brush in the garden area, which is going to be right in here. The gardening space is going to be 40 feet wide and 115 feet deep. It is a little bit windy today. Right now it's about 34 degrees outside and we have winds. Online it says it's about 20-mile-an-hour winds. I think that's from in town. We have a lot more wind out here outside of city limits. So can't really say how windy it is, but we regularly in this part of the state get wind gusts of 20, 30, 50, and even 75-mile-an-hour gusts. Don't think we're quite that high today. It may be 34 degrees right now, but this is the warmest day we've had in a week, and we didn't want to wait any longer to get started as we have a lot of prep to do before the gardening season. So here we are, Western Texas folk, not used to the cold. We are used to the wind. So we got as bundled up as we could for this type of day. And I know y'all guys up north are probably laughing at us as bundled as we are in this weather. My Western Texas chickens, they're in the same boat Josh and I are in. Look, they don't even want to come out of their coop today with the wind. She's just seeing if I brought food for her. Not right now, Odette. Yeah, they're like, no, it's too cold to come outside today. I had to go get some gloves. As Josh is pulling up these mesquite shrubs, I'm going to be moving them to a pile so that we can turn those mesquites into wood chips, because nothing goes to waste here. So in this space, it doesn't look like much because it's a desert, but there is a lot of plant life that we are going to have to uproot in getting our gardening space ready. Right now he is plucking shrubs along the along where the fence line is going to be for our garden, but we will also be pulling up cactus and all of the shrubs and things that are in this gardening area. Now, I am the first to want to save plants. I don't like killing anything. You know, anything that we do have to kill, it's for a purpose, whether it's going to be for our food consumption or if it's going to be so that we can improve our homestead to be more efficient so that we can be more self-sufficient and steward the land better. That being said, in this garden area, things are going to have to be pulled out and things are going to have to go. The same thing when we had to put the structures down for the shop and to build our road. There were plants that had to come out. We are being conscious of trying to keep certain things, so there are varieties of plants that we are going to be saving, uprooting, and replanting in different areas of the property. But the hard truth is that we cannot save them all, and some of these plants are going to be killed in the process of us clearing out this land for our garden. Of course, things like mesquite, we are going to be recycling into mulch on the property to be mulching around trees and mulching plants in these spaces as well. We were down at that end just a moment ago. Now we're down at the farther end of the garden. We have a stake tentatively put in. We haven't squared this space off yet, but this is going to be tentatively one of the boundary corners. We decided we're going to clear out the space first before we try to square it. That way there's not any debris or a lot of vegetation in the way that's going to make it harder for us to square this space off. So Josh is coming down now with the tractor, and he's gonna clear out a couple of the mesquites that are in line of our boundary line this way, as this area is gonna be 40 feet wide. So we'll put a stake on that corner and then another stake on the corner down there, and then we'll have our 4 corners of this rectangle. So we'll be ready to start clearing out the space. Mesquites have really, really deep, long tap roots, which actually helps draw water up to the surface here in the desert. They're also nitrogen fixing legumes, so mesquite overall are really beneficial to this area. We just don't want them in our gardening space. We do have some plants marked off and flagged that we don't want to harm or injure. And if it does become in the way, we will replant the ones that have flags next to them. See right here, we have a little yucca that we're planning on keeping. And then over here, we are keeping all of the rainbow cactus that we see on the property. White thorn acacia.
I thought it was a white thorn acacia, but it's not.
A little mosquito. Right now we're going 40 feet. We're burning a foot. He's gonna get over that way and then pull it tight and put a stake down. He's gonna reel me in. So back at this corner boundary, I'm gonna now walk up and we're gonna measure 40 feet off the corner up there. And that's gonna be our rough judgment on our boundary for this garden. So walking up, let's get another look at the before we clear. You can see a lot of the desert vegetation. There's some native grasses, there's some native quinoa, there's a whole lot of invasive Russian thistle. We've got cat claws, mesquites, choyas, javelina bush, and unfortunately in this area all of them are going to be coming out and either destroyed, recycled, or we may replant a couple of them to new locations. Got it.
I kind of like the flags better, we can see them.
Yeah, maybe we'll put a flag next to each of these stakes to help us as a visual. It's so windy, I lost my sunglasses off my face. Kicking back this Russian thistle, it's super, super painfully spiky. Okay, I'm burning a foot. And this is not by any means square yet. See, I have these magnetic sunglasses. The wind just blew them right off my face. We did it! I said we did it. So that's 40 feet. Más o menos. So right now we're walking back and forth through the space that will be the garden area, looking for plants we want to keep. As much as one of my favorite plants in this whole property is agarita, which is right here, which it looks kind of like a holly and it creates edible berries, but that one's coming out because it's just in a really bad spot. We have a bunch of agarita on the property elsewhere that we will be keeping so we can harvest from. This guy's out of the boundary. He's a mesquite. We're going to trim him down into 1 branch instead of 3 and make him more like a tree instead of a shrub. But a lot of these big bushes are gonna have to come out. I'm pretty much walking on the boundary line right now, so everything here is out of the boundary. Everything here is in the boundary. But unfortunately, these big choyas are gonna have to come out. This right here is gonna have to come out. This one looks diseased anyway. There's another little agarita under this one. Agaritas, they like to grow in the shade of other larger trees. And so under almost every really established shrub I've noticed on the property, there's agaritas. This was our old gardening structures we brought over from the other house. We had 2 3-by-8-foot beds, a 4-by-4 were what we brought. We really just brought metal structures and left anything really wooden because of how many termites we're finding on the property. We didn't think it was worth bringing any of our wooden beds or structures. And I do plan on doing sunken beds instead of raised beds out here. Since we are in a desert climate here in the Chihuahuan Desert, we don't get a whole lot of rainfall. I think our average is like 9 inches. Sometimes we don't get that. Sometimes we get a little bit more. So sunken beds will maintain a lot more water.
Murdered another one over here.
You murdered another one. What did you murder?
Rainbow.
A rainbow cactus? We're not seeing them, huh? They're just up underneath the big guys. Oh yeah, he's busted. So sad. That was a nice one too.
Rub it in, woman. Don't rub it in.
No, I mean, that sucks, but all the ones that we see we'll save, but it's hard because a lot of this brush is so thick. We do not see them.
So my vote is starting on these, getting me a pile,
Okay.
and we could probably have this cleared by tomorrow afternoon.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great idea. I mean, the wind's actually dying down now.
We've got to clear. I was thinking we were going to square it off, but we've got to clear this before we can.
No, I don't think it's even possible to square it off without it being cleared. There's just too much in the way. I think even our measurements with length could be a little bit off because of having to go over and around stuff. Little bitty baby choya.
Stuff to over there. There's already a pile. It's right by the road.
Okay. So we have our game plan. We are going to run into town and get more fuel for the tractor because the tractor's kind of close to low fuel. Josh is going to do tractor work the rest of the afternoon, pulling out big stuff like our cat claws and mesquites and the bigger plants. And then I'm going to get a shovel and I'm going to start shoveling out things like prickly pear. The prickly pear come out a lot better and you can get more of their root systems with a shovel versus with the tractor. Sometimes it's a little bit more gnarly ground left behind, and also if you miss some of the root systems, they'll just continue to grow, and that's not what we want in our garden space. I don't want to be picking tomatoes and sticking my hands in prickly pears. So that's something that we're going to work on today. So I'm going to go ahead and run into town with Josh, and we'll let you guys pick right back up when we get back and get to work. Even the deer are over this wind. I'm coming back in from errands in town, and there are easily about 30 deer bedded down right here. Not a whole lot of cover out here in western Texas to get out of the wind, but they're doing their best. We are back from our in-town errands to get fuel for the tractor. We stopped for a quick lunch break, which is actually perfect because the wind has died down a little bit. It is still windy, but also with the sun shining, it is now up at least into the mid 40s, maybe lower 50s. So we are working a lot more comfortably this afternoon. We noticed Josh was pulling some of these mesquites that he's already popped earlier out. We were gonna throw those into a pile, and we're separating into a burn pile, and we're also separating into a wood chip pile. So these types of shrubs are really good to turn into mulch through our wood chipper. But then there's some shrubs like our cat claws that we pull out that really would just be better to burn. Doesn't run through the wood chipper as well with it being so fine and gnarly. When you get really good established cat claws, they actually have really beautiful, dark, rich wood. But for the most part, a lot of the ones we have on our property are just really twiggy, real brittle and fine that we could just go ahead and throw in a burn pile. But what we noticed with this mesquite is, you know, one thing about the mesquites is that they have really, really big tap roots. And we thought we got it all, but this is an extension of that taproot and it goes into the ground, and he's gonna have to get his tractor to pull the rest of it up. So this little 3.5 foot mesquite shrub has a taproot that's, you know, 10 feet that we're still having to get with the tractor that we weren't even able to pull out all the way the first go around. So it's definitely something we can't pluck by hand. We need the machinery to help us with some of these shrubs, but knowing that, it's really neat to see how deep these reach to really pull water up from the water table up from deeper in the ground to help draw water to the surface. And mesquites are really beneficial at allowing other plants around them to have enough water by sucking that water up. So we're gonna let him do his thing there and see how deep this taproot really goes. Look at that, it's still going. Let's see if he's able to get it. Thinking he's gonna have to back up just a little bit because that taproot goes right underneath one of his supports for the tractor. He's just gonna push himself back a hair. He'll put his legs back down. And then he'll try to get at it. So you can see this taproot, how long it is. There he goes, he finally got the last of it. While he does that, I'm gonna grab a shovel and I'm gonna start pulling out the little things like prickly pear cactuses. So I'm gonna get the small cactuses out and he's gonna get the really big shrubs out, and then once we get those completed, we're gonna use the tractor and back drag all of the things like the grasses and the tumbleweeds. And when I say these tumbleweeds are ridiculous and annoying, they have spines all over these that when you rub up against them, it's like little acupuncture all in your legs and your socks and your clothes. If you try to brush them off with your hand, you get them all into your hand. So we are not fans of the tumbleweeds. They also have really shallow root systems, so they outcompete a lot of the native grasses. And then when they blow away in the winter time, they just leave barren soil and create a setup for erosion and things like that. So we do not like tumbleweeds at all. I did go ahead and flag off our 4 corners so it's easier to see. We have one corner here, we've got another corner over there behind the shovel, and then our 2 corners way off in the distance. my prickly pear pile. These are really easy to pluck up with the shovel, but you can see the established ones do still have a decent root system for a cactus. Here comes Josh in the ATV. He's got a trailer on the back of it so we can load up the burn pile of things that we're pulling out. We took a little moment to regroup and come up with a plan since we were kind of all over the place there just trying to get started doing something. And so we stopped and decided what we're going to do moving forward. So Josh is pulling out those shrubs just like we were all along, and we're loading up different types of material. The mesquite, the awthorn, and whitethorn acacia, we are going to go ahead and turn into mulch by wood chipping. So he's going to come over here into this clearing that we have that's really just dirt and sand, and we're going to dump a pile of that type of tree so that I can come in with my wood chipper, maybe get set up in the shade, and sometime, not today when it's so windy, but at some point I'm going to come out here and I'm going to turn stuff like this mesquite into mulch. And then this pile over here, which has already started because when we had our septic put in, our septic installer, he cleared out all of the area where the leach field and the septic went, and he took all of that brush and set it here. We decided we're gonna take the cat claws and the cactus and we're gonna pile those up here, and this is gonna be an area that we turn and rotate. So over time it will become like a compost pile that we can then take back and spread back over the leach field for nutrition for our cover crops, as we do eventually want to tractor rabbits on our leach field. I'm gonna come over here and give Josh a hand. He's starting the pile for my wood chipping. So let me go ahead and get back to work. Now look at the shallow root systems on these Russian thistle or tumbleweed. That's it. You could literally, and that's why they call them tumbleweeds. They just blow away in the wind. You could just clear it with your foot. Now when they tumble, they release their seeds, so we're going to be dealing with tumbleweeds for years to come before we can get them off our property, if we can get them off our property. Now look at how purple this cactus is. Here in the Chihuahuan Desert, we do actually have types of cactus that are naturally purple. A lot of times, like these, in this case, they turn purple under cold stress in the wintertime, and when the spring comes, they regain their green color. But it is really neat. There are places you can drive around here year-round and see purple prickly pears. It is the next day, and we did have to cut filming a little bit early yesterday because my camera decided it didn't want to work with how cold the weather was. And I think it zapped all the batteries that I had on me outside yesterday with that cold weather. So let the camera rest overnight, popped a new battery in this morning, and it seems to be working. But this is the garden area. We got about halfway through the plot clearing out shrubs and cactus. We do still need to back drag this. And then today we're starting on the second half. So just a quick look. You can already see how much has been cleared. This was a lot of work. We probably spent all afternoon out here hand plucking cactus and also using the tractor. I got my little pruning shears and we pruned some of the trees on the other side of the line into tree shapes instead of shrubs. And now it is time to get to work. Now ironically, it does feel warmer today, but the high is 10 degrees colder than it was yesterday. But we don't have all of that wind that we had yesterday. So the high today is about 45, and it feels like we might be close to that high right now. But it's really, really overcast, and I think we're ready to work. I know to me it feels a lot more comfortable this morning already than it was yesterday afternoon, just because the wind isn't here today, which is amazing. So I'm gonna grab my shovel. I'm gonna keep on plucking cactus. One load at a time. But we're getting there. Can already see how far we've come. We're almost done picking up piles. In this section we have one more pile of prickly pear, one more pile of shrubbiness. Well, I'm standing on the corner of the garden area, and we are now starting to back drag. Essentially, he's using his tractor and he's going row by row and he's dragging his bucket. And what he's doing back dragging is he's pulling out the remaining vegetation, like the grass that's in here. He's also evening out the space that we're going to be growing in. And at this point, when he's done back dragging, it will just be tidying up before we start prepping this for our garden use. It's starting to look more and more like a usable garden area by the minute as he starts clearing this area out. And there are a couple trees in this area that we've pruned down to look more like trees instead of shrubs. These are mesquites that we're gonna try to train into more tree-like, versus this is how they look when you really don't mess with the mesquites. They just kind of turn into a big old gnarly bushy shrub, but they can be trained up to look like regular trees with pruning. So we did that with a couple of them. He's doing a fantastic job. I think he's done.
I'll have to get a measurement on this.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good idea to get a measurement on it. So now that we have cleared out all the brush, we're doing another measurement. I don't know if y'all could see from here, but before we took the brush out, this is kind of lined up and our flag's way over here. So getting the brush out, now we can get a better measurement. And now the back dragging is done. We did go ahead and re-measure off our corners. We haven't squared it up yet. We're gonna plan on doing that next weekend, and also cementing in some fence posting so that we can get started on fencing in this gardening space. We are so excited about this space and all the potential it holds for the amount of food that we can grow here. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. That way you can stay up to date with everything going on here at Reachin Reverie. We have so much more to come. As you can see, we are only getting started with making our gardening space. So if you want to see more, don't forget to stay tuned, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.